Welcome back to What You Missed, a video game news show where I discuss articles that occurred within days to a week ago that you may have missed that are important to the video game industry and possibly to you. Before I start today's video, I want to let you know about Catalyst Mints. These mints can help anyone who want to replace their energy drinks or coffee. The secret to these mints are the Siberian eleutheral root, which is put in to help avoid sugar and caffeine crashes while combining with a number of natural energy providers. If you need a boost of energy, something you can toss in your bag without worrying about it spilling, or something that won't burn you or your mouth, check out Catalyst Mints. It doesn't hurt to try them out in place of what you currently use. Use the link in the description below and use coupon code Protomario for a discount. And thanks. So I have a few stories for you today, and they're all basically based on Nintendo. There's a lot of information that I'm going to be disseminating to you today. If you guys enjoy the editing style and the background footage, let me know if I should switch it up or change things around. Leave me a big thumbs up if you do like how I've been changing my editing style around, because it motivates me to continue to improve and continuously changing for the better. If you don't like it, again, give me a suggestion. I really appreciate it, but we're going to jump into the stories. So firstly, the article that comes from IGN is discussing Nintendo on Animal Crossing on mobile, and I've always said that I thought Animal Crossing on a mobile device where you could be interconnected a lot easier than being tied down and tethered down would be 10 times better. I'm not saying that a console port of Animal Crossing wouldn't have been bad per se to the point where you can't take it anywhere with you, because nowadays we have better internet. I'm talking about way back in the day when I used to play it on the GameCube and the internet was less than desirable, shall we put it. So I always had a vision when I was younger, be able to interact with them on Animal Crossing rather than just using AI. But they're also speaking about shutting down AM2R. That's another Metroid 2 remake that was in production for quite some time, and a lot of people were very upset about that. And then unannounced Switch games. So I suppose we should get right into it. So the Nintendo of America president, Reggie Fisime, you guys know him, my body is Reggie. He is the one who was talking about all of this stuff. So they were interviewed by Waypoint. The Nintendo boss confirmed that Nintendo's intentions when going into this year's E3 spotlight, and saying that Nintendo felt fans, quote, wanted to understand more about the Nintendo Switch and about the Nintendo Switch proposition, which I completely agree with. A lot of fans wanted to know what was going to be happening with the Nintendo Switch and not wanting to find out that it was going to be another Wii U. He also cited that this was the reason that games such as Animal Crossing Mobile were not present at the conference, saying that when it comes to mobile, we are just not sure if E3 is the place for us to be talking about mobile. Because obviously, cell phones, Android devices, iOS devices, tablets, these things kind of take a back seat to the main consoles. I understand that the Nintendo Switch is a main tablet and it has controllers strapped to it. As I've said in the past, also, if you could somehow manage to package a cell phone with a controller that is very decent, you would probably sell a lot of them and be able to make games 10 times better. That's what Nintendo did. But I also understand that a lot of these games are throwaway games to people. They're not games that you buy and you dedicate to yourself that, hey, I'm going to play and beat this game. They're throwaway games that are just like, oh, okay, I've got this game, whatever. You know, I'll play it whenever I feel like. You know what I mean? It's the same way with consoles, but when you're playing a console game, you usually sit down for a period of time. When you're playing a mobile game, you'll pull out the mobile game, you'll play it, and then whenever it's time to go, in between bus rides, whatever. It's not a dedicated thing that a lot of people sit down and play. So those eagerly awaiting Animal Crossing's debut on the mobile platform shouldn't be worried despite delays. Reggie confirmed that it's an application that is going to launch this year, and as we've committed, promising more information in that time. And I think that he's not BSing. Nintendo has delivered on their mobile applications. You can say that you don't like their games. You can say, oh, these mobile games are garbage, they're trash, I'd way rather play a console port. But compare them to some of the other mobile games that are out, they're pretty good. There's very few mobile games that I'm willing to play, but there's a lot more now that Nintendo is developing them, rather than these third-party ridiculous things. You guys see the advertisements, I know it, you know it, I get it tweeted at me at times. The terrible rip-off Pokemon games. They're out there. There's terrible games that come out on Android and iOS because there's very little market control there. Unless the company itself wants to come through and say, hey, you can't be doing this, you're ripping us off. Basically, it's the Wild West as of now. So yeah, when questioned about the rationale behind shutting down the fan-made Metroid 2 remake, the AM2R, they said that despite it being a free-to-download in the wake of Nintendo's own Metroid Samus Returns coming to the 3DS, he cited control of IP as a mitigating factor. Basically, what that means is he's speaking on the fact that they aren't controlling how Samus is portrayed in that game. That I'm quite sure that if somebody from Nintendo had sat down and played that game, they probably would have approved it because it was a pretty decent game. The problem is that it wasn't for a Switch, it wasn't for a mobile application, and it wasn't for a 3DS. It was for PC. And I can see Nintendo taking the family-friendly excuse, as Sony did, and saying, think of the children, how would they install this game? How would they play this game properly without getting viruses and things like that, depending on the downloads? The site's not secure enough, it's not controlled enough, and things like that. And then again, controlling the IP itself. And you can't necessarily be mad at them for that. It is a great game. I'm not saying that that remake wasn't an amazing game. Not saying that at all. But it is their IP. They own Metroid. Fans, you don't own Metroid, just as I don't own Pokemon. If they came to my channel and attempted to shut me down because of my fair use of Pokemon, there would be an argument there from me, but I'm not making a Pokemon game. I'm not remaking Pokemon. That's not what I'm doing. So anyone out there who's taking another video game, another property, and remaking it themselves, you better be careful, because once again, Nintendo might have things in the works and they might shut you down. But you might slip through the cracks, so there's that. They've also said that we've made it a priority to showcase that content, talking about indie titles not being featured. I'm not sure what he meant by that. We made it a priority to showcase that content. There wasn't a lot of indie games being featured. They do come out and they are on the marketplace, so I guess that they are trying to showcase new people's ideas and contents, so take it for what it's worth. So that leads into the next story, which is Nintendo's market value climbs past Sony CORP's. So Nintendo's stock value has been at the highest it's been since 2008. I said this many months ago, and I bought stocks myself in Nintendo. I said that once the Nintendo Switch drops and people are going to be buying it, that day and the few days to follow is when you need to invest. And the stocks shot up for a bit, and every single time they've dropped things like the NES Classic, new mobile applications, and now the SNES Classic, which I'll talk about in a minute, they've had their stocks go way high. So if you have $1,000 and you're looking to make a couple hundred, maybe even double your own money, that's a good way to do it. If you have hundreds of thousands of dollars, why are you watching me? Because you probably make way more money and you have way more important things to do than look up video game news. But if you don't and you're rich, you can feel free to donate to me. I'd really appreciate $100 grand. Anyone out there? Anyone have rich fathers, millionaires? Come on, guys. I could use $100 grand. Guys, I've got student loans. Seriously, please, guys. If somebody did donate $100 grand to me, I would be super happy. But playing the stocks is a real good way to lose a lot of money at the same time. But when Nintendo's on fire like this, it's not really going to be a loss. Unless Miyamoto came out and said something ridiculous about the company like, we're not going to be making video games anymore. We're going into the arms company and we're going to be producing AK-47s. Yeah, you're probably going to see a steady increase in the stocks until Nintendo makes a game that is absolutely terrible or a console that's terrible. So for the next few years, I'm predicting a great rise in the stock market for Nintendo. Now, I'm not someone who's very experienced in this stuff, but I know gaming trends, and I promise you, as long as Nintendo doesn't screw up anything, they're going to continually be able to increase their stock margins and profits. The stock has gone up 160% from Pokemon Go's launch, and it's closing at about $38.50 per stock for Sony shares versus $352, which is the highest value from 2008. So you don't necessarily, and you aren't going to be able to buy a lot of stock in Nintendo, but the kind that you can get is well worth it because it's definitely going to increase in value. You want to keep that in mind as you're thinking about spending your money and investing in the future. This is not a long-term investment. Nintendo's been around for a long time, but you don't know if it's going to be around for the next 70, 80, 90 years until you're dead. That's the point. So you want to get a little bit, keep it, and then invest in other things as well. This is business, marketing, and all of that stuff 101 here, and you'll learn this stuff later on if you haven't already. This leads me into my final article that Nintendo has confirmed the SNES Classic Edition and announced and given the date also for that console. Hopefully it won't be as expensive and ridiculous as the last one. There are a lot of stories to cover. As I said before, I'll make an individual video on that. Just know that this is a thing if you're here for this story. Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you guys watching this video. Please stay tuned for the next few videos where I will be detailing and discussing more news that might be very important to you, as this is what you missed. And I will also be detailing the SNES Classic. I've been your host, Protomario, and I'm signing out. Really appreciate it if you could like and share this with everyone you know and any gamers who are out of the loop. Thanks for watching. As always, good gaming, God bless, and I really appreciate you again taking the time to watch this video.